It's time for Northwestern Outdoors Radio, the award-winning show that covers fishing, hunting, and all sorts of outdoor recreation here in the Great Northwest. Northwestern Outdoors is brought to you every week by Max Lure Company, a legacy of innovation since 1969, by Loophole Optics, America's optical authority, by Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors, by Wallowa County, nature is on display in Northeast Oregon, and by The Real News, your fishing resource. Also by Shiloh Inns and Suites, providing you with affordable excellence, and by Mardon Resort, the place for fishing, hunting, and more in Eastern Washington. And now, it's time to head outside with your host, John Cruz.
Trouble is brewing in Olympia. That's where the political sausage is being cut by the state Senate and House to craft a budget that has left the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife with a $10 million shortfall. You're probably asking yourself, what does this mean to me as a person who hunts or fishes in the Evergreen State? Well, I'll tell you what, if nothing's done, license surcharges of up to 22% might hit your wallet. Or how about this? The closure of hatcheries across the state and employee layoffs that are going to limit your hunting access and the state's ability to catch poachers and others who aim to harm our resources. Jim Unsworth, the new director of the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife, is going to join us on this show to tell us more about this problem, and then I'm going to give you my take on what you can do about it. We've got spring fishing on tap after that, and if you're like me, you're always wondering where the fish are biting. Turns out there's a great website for that very purpose. It's called NorthwestFishingReports.com. Mike Carey, the man behind this really popular site dedicated to fishing reports and more, is going to tell you all about it and invite you to a free get-together he's hosting featuring fishing, food, and prizes on May 2nd at Central Washington's Lake Chelan. From Central Washington, we go to Southwest Montana to get the latest trout fishing news from Mike Markham at the Stonefly Fly Shop in Butte. We've also got a fishing report from the Snake River and Hells Canyon courtesy of Nate Luther and a spring turkey hunting forecast for you. After that, we head back to visit my friends at Eastern Washington's Potholes Reservoir. Guide Shelby Ross with Ross Outdoor Adventures is going to tell you about spring fishing at Moses Lake and Potholes Reservoir for walleye. Then we'll stop by the store at Mardon Resort to chat with Rob Harbin about all the great fishing for trout, walleye, and bass going on right now in the Seep Lakes of the Columbia Basin. Finally, Mike Meisberg, the patriarch of this family-owned resort, is going to tell you about a couple of upcoming fishing events you might want to attend and a great poker run for you boaters and a beach party I really think you're going to enjoy this summer. Speaking of upcoming events, we've got several to share that are taking place at Sportsman's Warehouse stores around the Northwest, and our Sportsman Spotlight Trivia Question of the Week is once again for the birds. This week, with turkey hunting in mind, we'll ask you a question about what kind of call you definitely don't want to have with you if you're looking to bag a gobbler this spring. Everyone who guesses right has a chance to win the $25 gift card from Sportsman's Warehouse we give away every week. But first, David Sparks got the skinny about mountain lion hunting in Colorado on this week's edition of Sportsman Spotlight, which we share every week courtesy of the Northwest Ag Information Network. Sportsman Spotlight is brought to you on this show by Nate Luther, the owner of Nate Luther's Guide Service. He wants to take you fishing this spring and summer for trophy sturgeon and lots of smallmouth bass on the Snake River in and around Hells Canyon. Find out more by going to NateLuthersGuideservice.com.
A chat with a Colorado outfitter with some surprising revelations. David Sparks, Sportsman Spotlight. Larry Amos is the head guide and owner of Winterhawk, an outfitting service way up in the Flat Tops wilderness of Colorado. In a recent conversation regarding lion hunting, he told me that hunting was done between December and March until it gets mellowed out and muddy. He typically sends a couple of guides out about 11 o'clock at night, and they start cutting old logging roads and old trails with snow machines. And when they find a good track, and it has to be a tom track, and it has to be a good mature lion, then they sit on that track until daylight, and then they'll turn the dogs loose on the track at daylight. Ultimately, the dogs find and tree the lion, and then once the lion has been harvested,
then we just pack the lion out.
This next part is where I had the revelation.
And we pack the meat out because lion meat, the back straps are very, very good meat to eat. The old frontiersmen used to say that it was the ultimate choice of wild game is lion. So, and that's pretty much the way we do our hunts. They're usually 6-day hunts, and if we hunt for 6 days and the weather ain't good and we haven't caught a lion and we get a snowfall in here on the 6th day, why, many times I'll tell the hunter, hey, why don't you stay? Let's hunt a couple more days. We'll get you lions. And usually, I very seldom ever have a hunter in the home that don't fly, and we usually run about 100% success on our lion hunts.
I've hunted with Larry, and I know that to be true. This is David Sparks for Sportsman Spotlight.
In the depth of Hell's Canyon, a monster sturgeon swims within the waters of the Snake River. He measures anywhere from 6 to 11 feet long and weighs out not in pounds, but in hundreds of pounds. You can fight him and you can catch him, but you'll need help to do so. That's where Nate Luther comes in. He's been navigating the rapids within Hell's Canyon for years and knows how to catch these sturgeon like no other man on the water. Find out more by going to Nate Luther's Facebook page at Nate Luther's Guide Service or give Nate a call at 208-503-9204. That's 208-503-9204 for Nate Luther's Guide Service.
It doesn't matter what sort of adventure you're after, whether it's big game deep in the backcountry, a day of fishing out on the water, or an overnight in the great outdoors. At Sportsman's Warehouse, we've got the gear in here for what you need out there. Gear up for your next adventure at one of the Sportsman's Warehouse stores or shop online. Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter.
Pheasants Forever is working hard every day to ensure there's more wildlife habitat for the future. To join us, go to pheasantsforever.org.
Back with Northwestern Outdoors Radio, I'm John Cruz. Folks, we've got a budget crisis looming for hunters and anglers in Washington State. The State House and Senate have proposed budgets for the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife that's going to leave them well short of where they need to be. So you're probably asking, what does it mean to me? Well, I'll tell you what. How about dramatic increases in your fishing and hunting licenses or reduced fishing opportunities because hatcheries are going to be closing down and staff numbers will be cut further at an agency that already runs way too lean. With us here to tell us more, Dr. Jim Unsworth, the brand new director of the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife. Director Unsworth, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to talk to sportsmen a little bit about our budget shortfall and fee issues.
Well, you know, Director, I'd like to say welcome to the new job. I know you just got here from Idaho, but I'll tell you what, it doesn't seem like the Washington State Senate and House is really making you feel real welcome with budgets that they're proposing for the next 2 years that leave your agency with a $10 million shortfall. What's going on here?
Well, first off, I do want to say I am feeling real welcome here in Washington, and I'm enjoying my time and enjoying the sportsmen I've met, and also enjoying a bunch of folks up the legislature. They have a tough job too, but we're in a situation where the department's just very tight from a budget perspective. We're trying to replace some funds that we lost on the federal side. We have inflation issues. You know, the cost of just doing our business has gone up too, and as we've seen the Senate and House budgets roll out, we're about $10 million short in both of those budgets to make ends meet. And what that means to sportsmen, you know, the most flexible part of our budget is the license-funded part of it. And, of course, that funds things like enforcement officers and hatcheries and the kind of things that really make a difference for sportsmen.
But we both know this, and we're going to talk about this in a minute, about the impacts of raising license fees. In fact, let's go ahead and hit that first, if you don't mind, Director, because I know that's one option you have. That's the one way you have of covering the shortfall on your own is to raise license fees. But the numbers I'm seeing are just horrendous. To cover that $10 million gap, you've got two options. Option number one is a 13% increase applied to all fishing and hunting licenses, or option number two, a 22% increase for fishing, 6% increase for hunting licenses. Director, you and I both know less people are going to be buying licenses, less people are going to be getting out there and doing the things that we love to do, fishing and hunting.
Right. We had some legislation proposed early on, and it included a fee increase for commercial fishermen. That portion of the legislation is still in play in the House side of the budget. But we also had some proposals to increase fishing fees for our resident, non-resident fishermen, a modest amount, really. We have to fix our own problems here in fish and wildlife. And certainly, you know, we do get a chunk of money from the general fund, and that would be nice, too. But what we had proposed was a modest fee increase that would have, you know, fixed our own problem. And I think we had some general support from sportsmen. to do that. We all know, we've all been here before. If you're my age, you've lived through lots of these periodic fee increases. And anyway, that's kind of where we're at right now. One option is that I think you're talking about, the numbers you're talking about, is if we have to go to a surcharge to place our fees outside of this proposed budget fee increase. And yes, those would make a difference. And we do see some buyer resistance after those kind of things. And also that those are temporary fixes. And would have to be going back to the well here in a couple of years to try for a more permanent fix. So.
Absolutely. And folks, I want you to understand the state budget, at least the governor's proposed budget. I haven't seen what the Senate's and the House's final version is, but the governor's proposed budget for the biennium was about $1,452,000,000. Is that correct, Director? Give or take?
Yeah, I think that's about right.
So $10 million is a drop in the bucket compared to that. So the legislature has the ability to fund this through the general fund. And we're going to talk more at the end of this interview about how you, the listener, can help make that happen. But for now, just keep in mind that this is one option that's on the table. If it doesn't come from the general fund, Director Unsworth is looking at potentially having a surcharge that raises your fishing license fee by up to 22%, which is just, that's a hard hit. Now, if you don't do that, obviously if you don't raise revenues because there's too much pushback from that, the other option is you have to close things. You have to stop doing things that cost money. And this is going to really affect anglers and hunters too, isn't it?
Yeah, like I said, the areas that we have to cut are areas that are very important. And they're areas that are mostly funded by wildlife dollars, like hunting and fishing license dollars. And those are things, and hatcheries and conservation officers, people that do our permitting work for the hydraulic permitting, people that actually do functions that make a difference to sportsmen. So it's hard to cut back on those kinds of things without seeing a difference.
Well, I've got some of the numbers here, and I'm going to share them if you don't mind, Director. When we're talking about cuts in personnel, I can tell you from experience that the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife Enforcement Division is way, way understaffed, and they're looking at cutting an additional 5 officer positions. In addition to that, 6 wildlife program specialists. The Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife has done a great job in recent years of partnering with private landowners to get more access for hunters. Those wildlife program specialists, those positions would be cut, and that means less access for you as a bird or big game hunter. And then we've got all the hatcheries that you're talking about, the Omak hatchery, the Ryder Ponds hatchery, the Natchez hatchery, the White Horse rearing pond, the Spokane hatchery trout production will be reduced by 25%. Fish food funding for hatchery co-ops reduced by 50%. Recreational shellfish management, Puget Sound, would be reduced as well. Fish sampling reduced. And if you don't have the fish sampling, then you have to reduce catch limits. There's a huge, huge impact if we have to go down this road, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. These are real dollars, real jobs, and real impacts to sportsmen.
So the directors can't say this, because he wants to keep his job that he just got. But you know what? I'm a freelance journalist. I can say this. And here's what I'm going to tell you. You need to pick up the phone. You need to get on the computer and shoot an email, call your legislatures, email your legislatures, both on the Senate side and the House side, and say, find $10 million from the general fund to cover this shortfall that the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife is facing. This is a real problem, folks. This isn't made up. This is a real issue, and we need your help. If you enjoy fishing here in the Evergreen State, if you enjoy the quality of hunting that we have that's been improving over recent years, you want to pick up that phone. You want to send that email. And if you don't want your license fees to go up in a very dramatic fashion, again, get on the phone, send an email, pay an in-person visit to your senator or your representative, and let them know this needs to be funded. Director, thank you so much for coming on the show and spending time to explain the magnitude of this budgetary problem.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the time.
I'd like to tell you I just brought down that buck, but I didn't. I missed. And you know why I missed? Because of the scope I've got on my rifle. You see, my friends told me to get a Leupold rifle scope. Why? Well, because Leupold is America's optical authority. They make a huge variety of quality scopes for every need, and they make them right here in the Northwest. Unfortunately, I didn't listen. I used the cheap scope that came with this rifle when I bought it. And when it came time to pull the trigger, well, let's just say things were a little blurry. Now, I've got nothing to look forward to except a long, empty-handed walk back home. Next time I come out into the field, there's going to be a Leupold scope on my rifle. And next time, I'm not going to miss.
Leupold rifle scopes. Check out the whole line at leupold.com and look for them at a sporting goods store near you.
It doesn't matter what sort of adventure you're after. Whether it's big game deep in the backcountry, a day of fishing out on the water, or an overnight in the great outdoors. At Sportsman's Warehouse, we've got the gear in here for what you need out there. Gear up for your next adventure at one of the Sportsman's Warehouse stores or shop online. Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter.
Nate Luther wants to take you fishing for monster sturgeon on the Snake River and Hell's Canyon. Find out more by going to Nate's Facebook page at Nate Luther's Guide Service or give Nate a call at 208-503-9204. That's 208-503-9204 for Nate Luther's Guide Service.
You demand quality performance from your binoculars, whether you use them in the field, on the water, or at a stadium. But you don't want to spend a fortune. That's where the BX McKenzie binoculars from Leupold come in. These armored, waterproof binoculars are both comfortable and dependable. Look for your McKenzie binoculars at quality sporting goods retailers near you, to include your Cabela's, Sportsman's Warehouse, or Northwest Weimar stores. BX McKenzie, bringing your world into sharper focus, only from Leupold.
We're back with John Cruz on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
It's time for another Max Minute.
Fish on!
Brought to you every week by Max Lure Company. With us this week is Max Lure Pro Guide Shelby Ross, owner of Ross Outdoor Adventures. Shelby, where are you fishing this spring and what are you fishing for?
I am concentrating on potholes. I also will be switching to Moses Lake at some point as the water warms and Moses Lake gets filled up.
And it's all about walleye for you this spring, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Let's go ahead and talk about how big these fish get. I understand some really big walleye have been taken out of Potholes Reservoir recently.
You know, there's been several over 10 pounds, and those are just nice fish. That's roughly a 30-inch fish, and they're in there.
Moses Lake also have big walleye or not?
It does. Not as many over 10 pounds, but lots of fish between 5 and 9 pounds.
What's the limit for walleye, and how viable is it to get a limit on these lakes in the spring?
Our limits on Potholes and Moses are an 8-fish limit with a 12-inch minimum and 1 fish over 22 inches. Well, it's not a walk in the park with an 8-fish limit if you've got a group of 4 like I often do, but their group on Wednesday got a limit in their boat, so it's happening.
What lure are you using to make this happen?
Max Lure's new Spindrift rig has kind of really become the ticket here, which seems very early for the spring to be trolling a rig like this, but it's working.
So you're trolling this behind a bottom bouncer weight, and I'm looking at this lure here. You basically have a smile blade, you've got a couple of beads, a pill float, but then a very unique hook.
Yeah, VMC came out with this hook this spring, and it is kind of the new evolution of the slow death craze. Previously, you wouldn't be able to fish the slow death rig at the slow speeds that we're able to use this rig at. So that's kind of the difference this year versus in the past.
Well, there you go, folks. That wraps up this week's Max Minute. It's the Walleye Spindrift. It's manufactured by Max Lure Company. Look for it in your favorite sporting goods store. If you want to book a trip with Shelby Ross, just go to his website, potholesfishing.com. That's potholesfishing.com. Shelby, thanks as always.
Thanks, John.
Walleye anglers all over the Northwest are raving about the new Smile Blade Spindrift walleye lure made by Max Lure Company. Lance Mers is with us here to tell us more about it.
This lure is fantastic. We've got the patented Smile Blade. We've got a pill float that keeps it just off of the bottom where the fish like to bite. And that Spindrift hook is absolutely phenomenal. You can tip it with any kind of bait.
Tip it with a crawler, tip it with a leech, whatever you tip it with, it's going to catch more fish. It's the Smile Blade Spindrift walleye lure, only from Max Lure Company.
Looking for the ultimate cooking machine for your backyard or patio? Look no further than Camp Chef's new pellet grill and smoker. With user-friendly features like an auto ignition, digital readouts, and internal meat temperature sensors, it's easy to smoke the tastiest salmon, ribs, brisket, and turkey you'll ever eat. And an innovative system makes cleanup a snap. Everyone will want the food you're cooking on your Camp Chef pellet grill and smoker. The quality smoker that's second to none. Find out more at campchef.com. Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors.
Nate Luther wants to take you fishing for monster sturgeon on the Snake River and Hell's Canyon. Find out more by going to Nate's Facebook page at Nate Luther's Guide Service or give Nate a call at 208-503-9204. That's 208-503-9204 for Nate Luther's Guide Service.
I'm gonna take you fishing, honey. You're gonna love it. Gonna get up before the sun.
Next up on Northwestern Outdoors Radio, we get to talk to an old friend of mine, Mike Carey. Now, you may recognize his name from his very, very popular website, WashingtonLakes.com. But I understand there's been a name change, Mike.
Well, hi, John. Yep, we are no longer WashingtonLakes.com. We are now NorthwestFishingReports.com.
And I think this is a good idea because you have truly evolved from the original concept of covering fishing reports at different lakes to a whole lot more these days.
We really have. The name change is mainly because of that change in the areas that we serve, which is Pacific Northwest, not just Washington, and the fisheries that our members post reports on, which is lakes, rivers, and saltwater, and not just lakes anymore. So the name change really reflects who we are and what we do.
For those of you who are not familiar with Mike's website, formerly WashingtonLakes.com, now NorthwestFishingReports.com, what are people going to find? Obviously, fishing reports is the main reason they go there, isn't it?
Absolutely. Last year, again, we had well over 4,000 fishing reports posted from our members, and that's always first and foremost what our site is all about, fishing reports. But what we're excited about this year is with the name change, we are no longer charging people for the premium section. That's now been made open and free to everyone, so all you need to do is register on the site and you'll have access to things like GPS hotspots, historical data reports, high-resolution maps, and a whole lot of other great features that formerly only the paid members had access to.
Something else we need to talk about on NorthwestFishingReports.com is not just the fact that you have these text fishing reports from members who submit them, and members who've been submitting these reports, folks, for over 15 years now, but in addition to that, you've got videos as well, don't you?
Yeah, we're closing in on 200 videos, and our YouTube channel is up to over 850,000 views, so we are approaching the 1 million view mark, which I'm pretty excited about seeing when the odometer spins over to 1 million views.
Well, that's amazing, Mike. That's about 849,000 more views than my YouTube channel has.
Well, keep working at it, John. You know, you'll get there. Just don't give up.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for the words of encouragement. Again, it's NorthwestFishingReports.com. There's a lot to find there, as you just heard. If you're looking for how a certain lake, a certain river is fishing, or saltwater areas anywhere in the Northwest, this is the website to you, and it's very popular. You average well over 1 million hits a year, don't you?
Yeah, our actual visit numbers last year were 5.6 million visits to the site, and we get about anywhere from 8 to 12,000 people a day visiting our site.
You know, that's amazing. Not only do you have these fishing reports, you actually like to get together with folks and go fishing too. And last year, you had a get-together at Lake Chelan where people got together for a potluck and some kokanee fishing, and I understand you're doing it again this year.
That's right. We are doing our third annual get-together at Lake Chelan. It's May 2nd. And we've got lots of great events planned. We have several guides that are offering their services for half price for the day.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a big deal. So half-price trips, you can find out the specific guides on our website. We'll have a potluck when we get back from a day of fishing, a nice big potluck get-together catered by Washington Lakes. And we'll have lots of free gifts from our corporate sponsors, including Max Lures, Heavy Beads, Fish with Gary, and Columbia River Knife and Tool, Kakita Tackle, and Wanna Fish a Lure. So lots of free gifts for our members just for showing up. It's our way of saying thank you to our people that visit our site year-round.
I want to make sure I understand this. There's no cost to attend this?
There's no cost, and you get to go home with lots of goodies. And we're talking some serious free stuff.
Wow. So mark your calendars, folks. That's May 2nd. It's a Saturday. It's at Lakeshore RV Park at Lake Chelan. Beautiful place to go. And by the way, I understand from a lot of people I've been talking to and your fishing reports too that the kokanee fishing's been quite good at this lake this year.
Oh, yeah, it's been an amazing year. We were actually out with Anton Jones in January and came back home with like 20 kokanee and phenomenal fishing. By the way, regarding the get-together, I do ask people to RSVP on our website, on the forum. It's easy to find. Just make sure you register RSVP so we know how many people are coming that day.
I think that's absolutely the polite thing to do because it's hard to cater an event if you have no idea how many people are going to show up. So again, that's the Lake Chelan Fishing Get-Together and Potluck. It's May 2nd. That's a Saturday at Lake Chelan at the Lakeshore RV Park, and it's free, absolutely free to come out there, bring your own boat, or just pay for a guide, half price if you want to go ahead and do it that way. But you need to go ahead and register in advance, and you can do that at northwestfishingreports.com. That's northwestfishingreports.com, what used to be known as WashingtonLakes.com, covering fishing reports and more throughout the Pacific Northwest. Mike, great to hear that good things continue to come your way. I'm really excited about this.
Thanks, John, and really appreciate the opportunity to visit with you.
Next up, we're heading to Montana. We're talking to Mike Markham at the Stonefly Fly Shop in Butte, Montana. Mike, how's the fishing been on the Big Hole River?
You know, it's been pretty good. We did have some squallows pop over there, so dry fly action has picked up over there, but mainly a nymphing game over there with your stonefly nymphs and San Juan worms being best stuff, but dry fly action picking up, and it's been good. So,
how big are the trout running this spring?
You know, not a bunch of big trout being caught right at first, to tell you the truth, but there's big ones are still in there. I'd say that's still healthy population from 14 to 18 inches still in there for sure. So a lot of that class range right now. So
let's talk about a stream that we don't seem to talk about very often, the Jefferson River. I think that's a really nice-looking river, but it doesn't get a lot of pressure.
It doesn't. And I always say people can fish the daylights out of it, and doesn't bring a lot of people back because it can be temperamental for sure. So,
and any reports lately or not yet?
It is good over there. I mean, a lot of guys, the Jefferson is the streamer river. There is big fish in there and lots of big rainbows with all the conservation work they've done over there for sure. But the big browns are still in there. The numbers just aren't what they should be. But yeah, I mean, fishing's been decent, mediocre. But, you know, it's good. I mean, if you catch fish over on the Jeff, it's a good day, and people are catching fish. So,
all right, last but not least, turning our attention to lakes instead of rivers, Georgetown Lake over by Anaconda. Is the ice off yet, or are people still on the ice fishing?
The ice is not off yet. It is a little thin, so I wouldn't go out there. There's enough ice off for people to kind of fish from shore. But regulations, I would check those out to make sure you know what you're doing when you go over there, because through the ice and not through the ice is two different things, so there are closed sections to definitely check out. The south and the east shoreline are the two main ones that you do want to look at and make sure that you're not in the wrong area if you are fishing in. So, but people are catching fish, so.
Well, there you go, folks. There's your Southwest Montana fishing report for this week from the Stonefly Fly Shop. You can go ahead and drop by their store, pick up the gear you need, get some additional advice. They're located at 2205 Amherst in Butte, Montana, or go to their website, thestonefly.com. That's thestonefly.com. Mike, thanks for sharing this report on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Thank you.
Got a bamboo pole and a leaky boat. It ain't much, but if you bail, it'll float. I'm gonna take you fishing, honey. You're gonna love it.
The road is calling you to experience one of Oregon's 7 wonders, the Wallowas. So grab your camping equipment and fishing gear and head out to Northeast Oregon, where you'll find the views are endless, the air crisp and clean, and the water's cold and clear. Set up camp by the shores of Wallowa Lake or in the heart of the Wallowa-Whitman National Forest. Take your fishing gear and cast your bait into the deep waters of Wallowa Lake, or roll your fly into one of the eddies of the many freestone creeks and rivers teeming with fish. This summer, take the road that leads to wonders. It begins at WallowaCountyChamber.com.
Shiloh Inn's Affordable Excellence. Welcome to Shiloh Inn's 4-star accommodations at 2-star affordable prices. I'm Mark Hemstreet, owner of Shiloh Inns. I personally invite you to enjoy Shiloh Inn's deluxe smoke-free suites, then relax and enjoy our spacious pools and spas with steam and sauna rooms and fully equipped fitness centers. And Shiloh's 4-star treatment is even more affordable with more free amenities than most other hotel chains, like free high-speed internet to a free continental delicious breakfast or full hot breakfast at most Shiloh Inns. Even the kids stay free. And smoke-free Shiloh Inns are all dog-friendly. That's what we mean by 4-star accommodations at 2-star affordable prices. For reservations, call 1-800-222-2244 or visit our website at shilohinns.com. Shiloh Inns, affordable excellence. American family-owned and proud of it.
Pheasants Forever is working hard every day to ensure there's more wildlife habitat for the future. Join the Habitat Leader and help create wildlife habitat in your community. Go to pheasantsforever.org.
Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. It's time again for news and reports from the field, brought to you every week by Mardon Resort at Eastern Washington's Potholes Reservoir. In fact, we're actually spending some time at the resort this week. We're at the store, great source for tackle, and an even better source for information. One of the folks you'll meet here is Rob Harbin. He is dialed into the fishing around here. Rob, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Rob, we spent time talking about Potholes Reservoir itself, but there's a whole bunch of lakes just south of here called the Seep Lakes. A lot of them are on the Columbia National Wildlife Refuge, and they offer some really good fishing, especially in the spring, don't they?
They're a great place to take small boats or kids for the trout. Anything on our canal system has got multi-species in it. You can catch anything we got in the lake, in this lake, on those lakes, because they can't kill the canal system because it's flowing.
So the canal system, this is basically flowing from Potholes Reservoir, and it basically is Crab Creek itself, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's Soda Lake. It goes down through Long Lake, Scootney Reservoir, all the way down to the end of the whole irrigation system.
A lot of people come here to Potholes Reservoir to fish for bass and fish for walleye, and it's good. It's really good, but I understand, like you said, that some of these lakes, especially Soda, can be quite good for walleye.
Oh, yes. They're this time of year, they're awesome for it. They have a different limit on it than we do here on Potholes, but it's a very good fishery, and it's a good small boat fishery. If the wind's blowing here, you can get behind the bluff down there and be out of the wind, even anchor and fish for them with jigs and things like that.
So when it comes to Soda Lake, which, by the way, folks, actually has a small campground there, too, how are you going about fishing for them? Are you doing it the same way here on the reservoir in terms of trolling a spinner worm harness like a Max Smile Blade slow death rig?
Yep, those work just the same as it does up here on this rig, or you can use more jigs down there and you won't lose as much gear because it's very rocky down there. There's not much sand. It's all rock.
What kind of jigs would you recommend people use?
Oh, whistle jigs. Those work really good. Blade baits work very, very good if you're doing it. Just a regular lead-headed jig with a piece of worm on it works very good for the walleye. They like meat.
Okay, and in terms of size, I'm guessing they're not quite as big as what we're finding up here in the reservoir?
Oh, they have some good fish down there, but they have a 16-inch limit down there, so you're going to catch a lot of 15.5-inch fish before you get an 18-incher. We're up here in this system, the fish are a little bigger.
Let's talk largemouth bass. There's a couple of lakes down there that really crank out the largemouths.
Well, Hutchinson and Shiner, which will open the end of this month, is an excellent lake for that. That's no combustible motors, though. Any of the other lakes really have. Long Lake is a great bass lake. It's if you like fishing bedded fish, that's one of the best lakes in the state for that. There's a lot of area for bedded fish in there, and it's smallmouth and largemouth.
And let's turn our attention to trout. Now, several of these lakes open up on April 1st. Some of them were rehabbed and not stocked this year, but there's still some good opportunities for trout, especially rainbow trout, here at the Seep Lakes. What are the few places you'd recommend?
I'd go to Upper Goose Lake first. That is closed between Labor Day and Memorial Day, so it doesn't have a lot of pressure and it gets a lot of stocking. That's also a multi-species lake. You can catch anything from walleye to bass in there. Lower Goose Lake is a good lake for trout. Almost all the lakes, the Pillar Lake chain, we've had fish over 5 pounds just this week coming out of there.
Wow.
And that's as big as trout get around here. This lake right here, fish is really good for big trout. 2 to 6 pounds will be your fish in here.
And that would be Potholes Reservoir. So again, folks, the Seep Lakes, Potholes Reservoir, both great options for spring fishing, especially during the month of April, if you can't wait for that general opener. If you want to find out more, head on out here to Mardon Resort. They're located just south of Moses Lake, just north of Othello, right on the south shore of Potholes Reservoir. Go to their website at mardonresort.com, newly updated website, I might add, at mardonresort.com, or give them a call, 1-800-416-2736. That's 1-800-416-2736 for Mardon Resort. Rob, thanks for the information. We appreciate it.
You have a good week.
In other fishing reports, guide Nate Luther says the sturgeon, in a lot of cases really big sturgeon, are on the bite on the Snake Snake River in and above Hell's Canyon. The smallmouth bass are hitting pretty good too, and from personal experience, I can tell you there are a lot of bass to be caught in this portion of the Snake River, and some of them are pretty darn good size. As an added bonus, Nate reports he and his clients are even picking up a few channel catfish. If you want to find out more, give Nate a call at 208-503-9204 or go to his Facebook page at Nate Luther's Guide Service. You'll want to hurry though, because Nate tells me he only has a few trips left for the months of May and June. That phone number again, 208-503-9204. Turkey hunting season has opened up throughout the Northwest, and it's shaping up to be a good year, especially in Oregon, where David Boudreau, the upland bird coordinator for the Department of Fish and Wildlife, says last year's spring harvest of 4,229 turkeys was up 9% from the previous year and the highest since 2010. This year's season, according to Boudreau, could be even better with the mild winter. More turkeys survive the season, particularly in areas of eastern Oregon where winter weather can be a limiting factor. In Oregon, all you need to spring turkey hunt is camo, a call, and a shotgun, and of course a turkey tag. A Han or Jake decoy can also improve your odds. You can hunt for 6 weeks, April 15th through May 31st. If you're wondering where to go, I can tell you the highest turkey populations are found in the southwest portion of the Beaver State, and the highest numbers of all are clustered around Roseburg. You can find out more about turkey hunting on the ODFW website for the state of Oregon. In Washington, the hot spots are northeast Washington, Stevens County in particular, in and around the Colville area has always been a hot spot for spring turkey. Okanagan County is pretty good too, but don't count out the blues. That's right, southeast Washington also puts out a good number of turkey every spring, and turkey numbers throughout the Evergreen State are on the rise. Want to find out more? Just go to your state Fish and Wildlife website and go to the hunting page and go to the turkey page. You'll find all sorts of information.
Tired of the same old fishing hole? Then head to Northeast Oregon's Wallowa County. Enjoy a weekend on the glacial waters of Wallowa Lake, where you can troll for the deep water excitement of kokanee or cast your line for some trout fishing fun. Bring your float tube or canoe and enjoy fishing in some of Wallowa County's small lakes. Or don your waders and step into the clear waters of the Wallowa, Imnaha, or Grand Ronde rivers. Early to bed, early to rise, fish all day, and there'll be no need for lies when you fish the waters of Northeast Oregon's Wallowa County. Visit us online at WallowaCountyChamber.com.
Wetlands are some of the most important ecosystems on Earth, but our wetlands are quickly disappearing. Find out how you can help. Join Ducks Unlimited today.
We're back with one last cast from John Cruz on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
It's time again for upcoming events and for our weekly trivia question brought to you every weekend by Sportsman's Warehouse. Mark Werner with BC Guides and Outfitters is going to be at the Puyallup store next Saturday, the 25th, from 1 to 3:30 p.m. He'll be giving seminars on choosing the right outfitter and how to spot and stalk bear. Meanwhile, a concealed firearm permit class is being offered at the Bend Sportsman's Warehouse the 25th from noon to 5 p.m. The cost to attend this one is $40, and if you show up a few minutes before noon, you can sign up at the door. Last week, we asked you for the proper name of that beautiful raptor known as the marsh hawk, and most of our contestants gave us the correct answer of the northern harrier. This week, we've got a question for you related to turkey hunting. There are calls you can use to draw those gobblers in closer, and there's other ones you don't want to use. This week, we want to know which call you would not use to bring a turkey in up close. Is it the slate call, the box call, or the predator call? Your choices again are the slate call, the box call, or the predator call. I guarantee you one of these three will send those jakes running the other way. Let me know which one that is, and you're entered to win a $25 gift card from Sportsman's Warehouse. You can enter through our website at northwesternoutdoors.com or through our Facebook page at Northwestern Outdoors Radio. Simply like our page, give us your guess, and you are entered. We'll pick one lucky person who answers correctly after our last broadcast this weekend. In other upcoming events, we've been broadcasting from Mardon Resort at Eastern Washington's Potholes Reservoir this weekend, and this is a great place to go for fishing tournaments. That's right, Potholes Reservoir has been fishing incredibly well this spring. Already in April, we have had people catching 8-pound largemouth bass up in the sand dunes, 6-pound smallmouth bass in Lynn Coulee near Goose Island, and it's going to get even better. With us here to tell us about some of the upcoming derbies you can participate in is co-owner Mike Meisberg. Mike, always a pleasure.
Hello, John. It's good to see you as always and be here on such a festive weekend as the 36th time we've hosted the Potholes Open Bass Fishing Tournament. You know, the first bass tournament in the state of Washington was held at Mardon, and we've really enjoyed having these people, watching it morph into the big events it's become today.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's a ton of people at the resort this weekend for this Potholes Open, but you've got a couple of other ones coming up that we need to talk about. And the next event you have coming up isn't a bass tournament, it's a walleye tournament happening May 2nd and 3rd. Tell us about it.
This is a fundraiser, the Rod Meisberg Spring Walleye Classic. It's a fundraiser for our Central Washington Fish Advisory Committee to build habitat structures to enhance the fishing on Potholes Reservoir. At this time, we've got 1,622 of those structures in the reservoir, and that's been one of the factors in our very noticeably improved perch fishery. It's just fantastic because everything on Potholes Reservoir bases off the yellow perch.
And that includes the walleye. And folks, the walleye fishing has been lights out the last couple of years. As a matter of fact, just a couple of months ago, a 16-pound walleye was caught right off the docks here at Mardon Resort. People have been catching walleye 8, 10, 12 pounds throughout the winter months, and I expect it's going to be pretty good for the Classic, isn't it?
I tell you, these walleye factors we've been having this year again support an incredible walleye fishery. Al Linder, he created a new website called Target Walleye, and we had a 16-pound walleye caught by one of our customers in a rental boat with the lure we suggested on the face of the dunes, and that 16-pound walleye was on Target Walleye for a month with Al's new website. Al's been fishing Potholes Reservoir for 35 years and knows all the rocks in the lake.
I'll tell you what, folks, Al Linder, if you're not aware, is one of the best known fishermen, especially walleye fishermen in the entire United States. So if this place is a target for him and ought to be a target for you, let's go ahead and turn our attention back to bass, because May 16th and 17th you get the Mardon Open Bass Tournament coming up. This is another big one, isn't it?
This is an exciting event. This will very well provide the serious anglers in the tournament an opportunity for one of the heaviest bags all year, as many of the bass are pre-spawn and at their heaviest weight of the 12-month year.
What does it take to win this tournament in terms of a 5 bass limit? What's it been the last couple of years?
It's been things like 29.2, 31.4, and when you start dividing that by 5, that's some pretty big fish, but I have a strong feeling this year we could even see something that could be up even higher than that with the mild winter and the fact that, as the biologists have told me, in a perfect world, yellow perch can spawn 3 times in a year. We definitely had 2 spawns on Potholes Reservoir, providing more forage fish for those sport fish, the walleye and the bass that many of us love to catch and release, and especially us walleye fishermen that love to release those in the frying pan.
Well, you're not going to get a better taste in freshwater fish than a walleye, that's for sure. So we've got the Rod Meisberg Walleye Classic that's coming up May 2nd, May 3rd. We've got the Mardon Open Bass Tournament coming up May 16th and 17th. And something that's not a bass tournament, but it's a really popular event, and it's coming up later this summer, is your poker run. Tell our listeners a little bit about this and why they should be making reservations now to participate.
The poker run is our best fundraiser for the Central Washington Fish Advisory, and it's just a very fun time. It's a classic poker run, and you do it in a boat. You start at the Mardon restaurant, and then you buy in, you get your first card, and then you go to Goose Island and you get your card. If you don't like it, you can participate in some fun events to upgrade your card.
These would be called shenanigans, folks. Shenanigans.
But then as the participants move, the final card is picked up at the beach at Mardon, and then there's another opportunity to upgrade your card down there with some of the shenanigans. But the fun of it is we have a real fun group. It's the nicest time of the year with warm weather, and we provide a nice meal for the entire group, and we have music on hand for the dancing and have fun off into the late hours of the night.
Well, there you go, folks. That is the Lake Poker Run, and that one is taking place August 22nd right here at Mardon Resort. It's not just a poker run, it's a beach party too. It's going to be a lot of fun. That's just 3 of the events that are coming up here at Mardon Resort. There's lots of other ones too. If you want to find out more about them, just go to their website at mardonresort.com. That's mardonresort.com, where the fish bite, but we don't. Mike, always a pleasure.
Thank you, John. Enjoy visiting, and we've got to get some time, and let's go catch a fish.
That's all for this week. I hope you enjoyed our visit to Mardon Resort. And with Mike Carey at Northwest Fishing Reports, again, he's got that get-together coming up at Lake Chelan on May 2nd that should be a lot of fun. Also, if you're a hunter or angler in Washington State, contact your state representative or your state senator and let them know they ought to be taking money from the general fund to make up that $10 million shortfall in the Department of Fish and Wildlife budget this year. Otherwise, we are apt to see some really huge license surcharges and or closures of hatcheries and other things that will affect the fishing and hunting that we love. Spring fishing and turkey hunting, it's all going on right now, and I'll tell you what, you've got to love this time of year in the Northwest. So until next time, take care, God bless, and make it a point to spend some time outdoors.